Welcome to Psychic Holistic Spotlight. I am hosting the show today. My name is Kathy Medeiros, and we also have Josie Way as our co-host, and our guest today is Gladys Allen. We'll be discussing today about past life regression and Brian West. Gladys Allen's been on the show before, and she's been doing spiritual advisor for quite some time now. So can you tell us a little bit about what got you interested in taking the class with Brian West?
Absolutely. So when I started this journey, I was curious about past life regression, and I didn't know how I felt about it. I connected with the Archangel Raphael and asked him for assistance, and he's the angel of healing, and I knew past life regression was very healing for people, but I didn't understand it. So I kind of put that aside for a while. And what prompted that recently, so I trained with him at the Omega Institute in September of 2016. And what prompted that for me was the passing of Wayne Dyer. And it hit me kind of hard. I mean, I followed him. He wasn't, let's say, a teacher of mine that I connected with often. And I realized that these mentors and teachers that we have here aren't going to be around forever.
No.
And I started looking at the Omega Institute, and I saw that Brian Weiss was teaching his training, and a good friend of mine had trained with him years back. And I decided that it was time to learn something new. And I have to say, going into it, I didn't know how I felt about it. I don't know if I necessarily believed in it, but I was curious. And so he was teaching in 2016 a training in May, and then July, and then September, I believe. And I started to apply for the May, and that had sold out. And then I said, well, I'll catch the next one in July. And when I wanted to log in to pay for that one, that had sold out.
Wow.
So immediately I was like, okay, the September class is what is where I'm going to be. Originally, it's funny, I thought September. But once I got in my head about it, I said, I want to do this right away. So that's where I, tried to get in earlier. But September was the class, and there was 151 students. And you'd think that that's a lot of students, but from his teachings, most of his one-day classes are 1,000 to 2,000 people at the I Can Do It Festival. So we had a very intimate class with him, and he was fabulous. He was so graceful. He spoke so eloquently. He was a really good mentor for me being a teacher and how to lead a group, and then also to being a student and learning from. And you can tell he's been doing this for many years, and I sat up right in front the whole time, and I was just captivated by him. And he brought people up on stage, and he did past life regressions for them, and he talked about hypnotherapy, which I really didn't know a lot about. And it's funny, as he started doing this hypnosis process, I realized that it's very similar to guided meditation. And I've been doing guided meditation for years. And I laughed and said, my goodness, I've been hypnotizing people for years and didn't even know it, So I was like, all right, I've got that. And so the profound healings that people had and the transformations that took place on that stage in those 5 days that we were together were profound. And the regressions that he guided, the group into and I went to were amazing. It helped me understand a lot of my connection with my mom and my grandmother, because, as I've mentioned before, my grandmother passed when I was young, but yet it was a connection that it was just very impactful in my life. And we went back and explored that, and I realized that, I was their mom in another lifetime.
That was my question for the soul group.
They were sisters, absolutely. They were sisters, and I was their mother. And I worked a lot, to support them, and that's the role that my mom has taken on now. And I find it funny, my mom will tell me every once in a while, she'll say, let me be the mother. She's like, I'm the mother. Cancer, because of course I come back as a triple Cancer. So I am the mother, the moon, the emotional, the intuitive energy. And it made a lot of connections for me, and the process of why we're here. And I eliminated a lot of the, a lot of the hindrances, I guess, worrying about money or worrying about small things, just the trivial life things. And I realized that we're a soul here to experience life and move through this time. So I no longer saw things as good or bad, light or dark, yin and yang. It was more of the experience to get us to grow.
Much less judgmental.
Absolutely. On myself, foremost, So I started to realize that after the class, more things were opening up for me, more insights, more guidance. And clients were coming in who were struggling with, worried about, fears of water, connections with people that they don't understand, grief, losing loved ones, and even losing people in this lifetime, this incredible grief of why didn't it work out? I know I'm destined to be with this person, and taking them back to that place to understand where the root is. I had a client who lost a child in another lifetime, and when we went back, so she couldn't get pregnant in this lifetime. And she struggled with that, and we went back and explored that, and she realized she had lost a child in another lifetime, and she made the contract in that lifetime, I'm never going to do this again. So now she comes back and we work on healing that, and she's not in a place where she can have a child now, but I felt like we cleared that karma for the future, that we opened up space, and just her knowing that her life has changed. She's in such a beautiful place now. She's recently released a lot of the limitations and the sadness and the ties and the binds, and knowing that that isn't it in this lifetime, that other lifetimes forward, she can have many children if she chooses to. And I believe that this lifetime, from working with so many people, this lifetime is a lifetime to heal karma, to release old ways of doing things, old belief systems, challenges with people, and really reinvent our souls and who we are right now in this moment. So caregivers, healers, earth angels, and light workers, we have for eons fixed, saved, changed, and made better for everybody else. I kind of joke and say we were burned at the stake, and we were beheaded, and we were drowned, and we were stoned, and all these things from when we go back and experience past lives, right? And so now here we are, separating from these people, places, things, and ideas that have limited us in the past. And I feel like we have an opportunity to consciously choose. I had relationships in my life that were really hard to release and let go of. This past life regression work has really helped me understand that and release it from a non-judgmental, bitter, angry place, and to understand that we're humans having a spiritual experience as we move through this thing we called life. And I've grown so much more from it. And so this is that gift that I believe past life regression offers. Brian Weiss was a psychologist. He worked at, I believe, Mount Sinai Hospital. So for him to step out into this world in a very scientific, analytical world and embrace this other part, I truly believe he's an ascended master. It's funny, so he talked a lot when we were in class about giving everybody an opportunity to connect with him and say hi. I felt like it was a mission of his to really connect and meet everyone, And so he told people, if you've seen me 2 and 3 and 4 times, let me, meet other people. And so I kept saying, I want to connect with him. I want to meet him. I want to get a picture with him. But I wasn't going to be somebody who was going to go up and just push my way in.
Right.
So it was coming to an end. It was the Thursday, the day before we were getting ready to leave. hey, let's go on a bathroom break. And, I went to, the field, and I was just on my phone, and I turned around, and he was almost right behind me, talking to 2 other people. And my heart started to beat fast. I'm like, here's my chance. So I went over there, and he smiled at me, and one of the girls that he was talking to asked me if I would take a picture. So I said, absolutely. I said, if you'll get a picture with me. And Brian was like, yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because if you look on my website, my picture of him, it looks like this beautiful, greenery behind us, because he said, let's find a place. And we just turned a little bit because we were really like right outside of the bathroom. And so he's like, well, let's not take a picture outside of the bathroom. Exactly. So we turned a little bit, and he put his arm around me to take the picture, and I felt the most loving energy just envelop me. It was literally feeling hugged by heaven. And it was in that moment I got his energy, his purpose, his evolution, his soul energy. And afterwards, I can see why people don't leave him alone. And now having the connection and having to like shake his hand and say goodbye, I feel like, gosh, I want that again, So I understand now why he makes it, important to let everybody know that, you got to give everybody a chance.
Yeah, right.
And so I came home nervous and excited and not really sure where this was going to go. And I just did a group at the Discover You Wellness Expo. I believe there might have been about 150 people in the room. And I did a group past life regression. And some of the stories that I got afterwards, that people came up to me that they had gotten through their meditation, was just so profound. It's so healing. It's so inspirational. And I can't say enough about the work.
Yeah, I think would you say a big part of it's the understanding the why, understanding behind, say, the fear or the stress or the anger behind what's going on in this current life?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Or some people experience actually deep physical healings because they've had, let's say, a stab in the leg and been crippled previously, or they had part of a leg blown off in
a previous war.
In a civil war or some such thing. And they don't understand why they have the problems, and they go to doctors and nothing shows up.
There's no physical
and
reason
it relieves
for it in this life.
And they no longer have a physical ailment because they realize it's like a psychic scar.
Yes.
Yeah, the emotional and the physical are very connected.
It's true. And I have to say, as a medium, as an intuitive, I could certainly get insight as to what people's past lives were, and I could share that with them.
But it's not the same impact as going through it yourself.
Absolutely. There's some profound shift that I've seen clients have being in that meditative state and having the experience. It's almost like a relief, like a release, like a peek into, and it's an aha moment.
Exactly.
I get it. I understand.
That was the word running through my head.
And from there, people's lives change. They make better decisions. They're able to release negativity and trauma and worries and fears. And it enlightens them, and they're able to move through this life without the limitations of the fear of death and the fear of people that are around, and moving forward in that place of, I'm here for a reason.
It also, as they spend a little more time doing it, it makes them a little more responsible for everything they do and everything they say to others, because they realize it has a long-lasting impact.
Even crossing lives.
Yeah. Now, if anyone doesn't know who Brian Weiss is, he wrote Many Lives, Many Masters. You can find it in any library and read it if you haven't read anything on past life regression. And he has other titles since then. But he started it coming out professionally with these understandings of past lives can do for people.
It's actually a client of his that started to go back to regressions. and she was actually his teacher.
When he was a psychologist?
Yes, yep.
Yeah.
And he didn't understand it. And it actually took Brian 3 months before he could actually have a regression himself. So here he is, this beautiful teacher, amazing at what he does, and he struggled. So a lot of people don't come to, let's say, past life regression because they don't know if they can be hypnotized or
Right.
if they can, actually get insight. And I say, if you can release that part and just come for the experience,
Yeah,
it
because
opens up.
he was just doing hypnotherapy.
Absolutely. Well,
And
he's a
this wo-
psychiatrist.
Yeah, doing hypnotherapy, and she just went back.
Absolutely.
I had a past life regression done once years ago, and it was more like a guided meditation.
Yes.
Is that the way that you would do it? Because she had me lay on the table,
Yeah.
and she had music in the background, and she was just doing some kind of guided
Yes.
meditation.
Yes.
So that's the format that
I
you
do. I don't have clients lay on the table because people sometimes fall asleep. So I need them to be able to respond. So I do have a nice comfy chair in my office. And that's how Brian did it when he did it on stage with people. He had them sit in the chair. And that's exactly what it is. So regardless of if they're getting insight into the past lives, we go back to childhood memories. We go back to experiences. It's a gradual regression back to past lives. And they guide it. And of course, I'm not here to put subliminal messages. I say, everybody self-hypnotizes, so if you've ever read a book and you've been so enthralled with this book and you look up at the clock and it's 2 hours later, you are in a hypnotic state then.
Yeah.
If you're ever driving, and you've missed just this morning I was coming over the Fall River Bridge and I must have been in my head about something, and I thought back, I'm like, wow, I don't remember going over the bridge. I'm like, I need to pay attention. Again, another hypnotic state. You can come out of it at any time. You're always in control, and that was something that I think relieves people from having the experience. Of course, it's something that you want to go to somebody who you trust.
Yeah.
Somebody who, feels that, you can feel, and I take a spiritual approach to it.
Okay.
And as you said about the psychic attachments and the connections with people, the transformations, I can't speak enough about the people who were up on stage that he worked with, and to see them on the last day, and they were so excited, they were so full of life. Going up on stage, they were so energetically drained, and the process was just incredible, and we all went through the experience. We all had regressions that really helped us heal.
Yeah.
Now, when someone comes to you for a session, do they go for a specific reason to find out what's going on, or is it like more of a general sense of what's happened to them?
I think it's both.
Okay.
I've had clients who want to come in and explore a past life regression, and then I've also had clients who've come in specifically saying, I have this challenge and this block and this worry or this fear, and I want to go back. And we kind of compile a few things. We set an intention, and it always amazes me how their soul guides them through the process. So they go back to experiences that they might not have ever thought about, and they have this emotional release that shifts for them. And I have to say, after the regression, it just doesn't end after our session. Things continue to unfold for them. Their life continues to change because you have this shift, right? And now it's like going down a path and only seeing a light in one way. Then you have the regression, and now other lights open up, and you're able to go off in different directions and kind of explore those parts.
So the healing process continues even after the session.
Absolutely. And of course, I'm always there for support. I trust in their guardian angels and guides. I trust in their soul and their process, and I always bless them along their journey. So sometimes I see clients once, and sometimes I see clients 2 and 3 times, and they show up at groups and they continue to explore that. But this isn't something that I feel like Brian says that you have to go to a regressionist to experience this. He has many CDs out, and he has many books that guide people into self-hypnosis. I think part of it is having somebody with the knowledge and wisdom to be able to guide them and actually do it for them, is helpful.
It is, in the beginning, particularly, there were some people that hit very traumatic things happening to them, and they didn't know how to cope and deal with the fact that their partner that they spend, so many hours with every day was the one who beheaded them or something like that.
Absolutely.
They feel love for them, but they're still confused about the whole thing.
And it's very, very hard to disconnect.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard to leave, especially when they're your family members. Maybe they're your mom or dad. Maybe they're your children. Maybe they're significant others. Maybe they're best friends that you've been with forever.
Right.
And that causes an experience of difficulty. I definitely experienced that and disconnecting from unhealthy relationships in my life and have struggled with that. And this kind of gave me some insight in saying, okay, it's no for right now, but it doesn't have to be forever.
Right. Now, the other thing about past life is not everybody goes to past lives. Sometimes they go in utero.
Absolutely.
Some major traumatic thing happened in utero that they weren't even aware of, that they find out afterwards, oh yes, I almost lost you, and we went through this and that and everything, while I was expecting you. Sometimes it happens like that. And there is one psychiatrist, counselor, I believe it's a woman, who had a lot of, there's a man, who had a lot of experiences between lives of where people went back and went to lives in heaven.
Absolutely.
So that's something that also can happen.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Brian brought us to that place, the in-between. And I've also had clients who have gone to other dimensions, other energies that they couldn't explain. And there's that explaining this environment, but yet it's not anything that exists here.
I've been there once.
We may be here in this life, but that doesn't necessarily mean you've always been on this planet in past lives, which I think is fascinating.
And I'm learning so much about these things, as well. So I believe, like I said, God, source, creator, universe sends people to me, and we learn and connect, and they go off and continue to shine our light. One of the incredible things, on the last day of this training, Brian sent us on a progression. So in the future,
Move forward.
So we could choose to go 250, 500, or 1,000 years in the future. So of course I chose 500, middle of the road. 1,000 seemed very far away. 250 seemed close. So I went to 500, and that was my choice. And I remember this visual of being in this beautiful environment where there was greenery all around me. And I was dressed in white, and I laughed because I was still little. So I'm little in this lifetime. I've had other lifetimes where I've been little, and I'm like, I'm still little 500 years in the future. And then I have to say, I've just embraced it since. I'm like, well, that's, I guess, how people recognize me, right? I came back 6 foot tall, and nobody would know who I was. And so we went 500 years in the future, and I remember talking with somebody, and I was considered a saint. So not the saint that we know of now. It was a wise being on the earth that helped people spiritually evolve. That's the information that I had gotten from it. And I was talking to somebody, but I wasn't talking with words. We were speaking telepathically. And I felt that that's how we were connecting in the future. And I also got that the planet Earth was limited. We couldn't go to what we could go to, what I knew, it was very limited. So he brought us out of the progression, and before anybody could share anything, he said that, because of course he's a man of science too, that when he first started doing progressions, before anybody talked, he would send out like a consensus, and people just have to fill out whatever their experience was. And one of the common things was that people communicated telepathically. And it was just something, and I remember looking at the girl next to me and saying, I'm like, I got that too, you know. We just kind of laughed about it. And he did talk about not being able to go to places on Earth that we could now. And it's interesting because nobody has ever gotten what happened. You know, he didn't know if it was a cataclysmic event. He didn't know if, you know, if the Earth changed and things were underwater that wasn't before, and so I laugh about the insight that, you know, we get, but yet it's still limited.
Yes.
You know? And so it was like a lot of common things that I had gotten that he had explained as well. So it validated the experience even more because, again, for me, I always say I'm always mildly skeptical until I can explore it and really understand and have it proven. So that experience, the last day was just... it sealed the deal for me. I'm like, that's it. I'm in. I can't wait to go home and share this. And I've been on this journey since.
All right, so before we continue, we only have a few minutes left. So if someone wants to have a session with you past life, how can they get a hold of you?
So they can book online. My website is GladysEllen.com. And there's a list of my services, and they can choose, you know, a past life regression session. It is about 90 minutes, so I always say give themselves plenty of time because sometimes we go over. And that's the easiest way is to book online. You know, if somebody has any questions, they can always send me an email, and that's something that they can find on my website as well.
All right, perfect. So the progression, I'm so used to seeing regression, so it's different. So that had a profound effect on you then.
Yes, it did. Because I realized that what I'm doing now is what I've been doing for a very long time. And instead of fighting it and saying, am I good? Am I not good? Where is my place? Where am I going with it? I released it and I said, okay, show me what's next. Show me who I'm supposed to learn from, where I'm going, what am I supposed to do next. I just accepted.
That's always hard when you move to the forefront of a field and you need others in front of you. It's hard to wait for the next teacher.
It's true. And as you had mentioned before, being impatient is something that, you know, we struggle with. So that is something that I've learned that I have many lifetimes. I have at least 500, right?
Yeah.
So my patience and my acceptance of things and the way they come and how they come about, I feel like I'm less stressed about it. I feel like I'm living, and if I don't get to it in this lifetime, that I have many others for whatever and however my journey takes me.
Yeah.
If you can't get it right this time, you can get it right the next time when you come back.
Or the next.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just have to.
I know I'll eventually get it. Even though right now I don't know what it is.
Well, we got the in-betweens for that as well, too, right?
It's true. It's true.
It's amazing how much, like, each life is a journey, but it's a continuation, too.
Yes.
You know, each one, though, is still new lessons, new experiences, though, but each one is still...
But we're moving much faster than we ever moved before.
Yes, we have.
We are progressing
now.
much faster
Oh,
now.
totally. We're more aware, we're consciously living, we're moving with healthier bodies, with healthier minds. There's a lot more
And we're living longer.
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot more holistic practices out there and different modalities that people can explore this with.
Yeah.
So I just say go with your comfort zone.
I want to see where they accept all of them and realize they're all healing.
Yeah, absolutely. All of them.
I'd like a phone where you can dial the angels.
That would be nice. So that'd be the easy way to do it.
Please.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Although actually they're fast to show up.
They are.
Yeah, that's just a thought away. That's as close as they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But they don't hang out with you unless you listen to them.
Right. Right. I was going to say, though, they always hang with me.
Oh, they're always with me.
Yeah, but
But you listen, but you're right, though.
You have to listen to them.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And like I said, it's the highest vibration of unconditional love that you can imagine.
Yes.
And it's loving yourself enough to open your arms and your heart to receive that energy. And I find that past life regression is just another way to understand.
Yes.
It's another way to connect. It may not be for everybody. And like I said, it wasn't for me 10 years ago. I read about it and I explored about about it, and it just wasn't something that, I resonated with until, like I said, it came back again. So I believe God plants seeds way before it's time for things to actually come into fruition. So
the time was
I was ready. Yep.
Yeah.
And I honor the process patiently.
What I've learned that it takes a long time to get to the point of trusting where you're going, even if you don't know what that might be.
Absolutely.
Well,
It takes time.
there are limits to trust, that you get to the limit, and each time you trust a little more, you go further and further and further. And the divine source can handle it all.
It's true.
Yes.
It's true. With open arms
Yes.
and full faith.
Yeah.
But will only reveal to it that which we need to know.
Yeah. It's just too
Nobody
much.
gets it all.
Yeah, it's just too
No,
much.
the wisest one doesn't get, no one gets it all. We all get pieces of this big tapestry or puzzle that
But
they
that's
call
where the
life.
connection comes in, though. We all interweave
And we
with
are
each
all
other.
one.
This is where we all work together.
Yes. Yes. And that's where the complete one goes. So how do we get in touch with you again if we need to?
Well, you can go on my website, GladysEllen.com, where they can find many types of information, the different types of services I offer, my podcast link, my YouTube channel, and, I just encourage them to come out and connect.
Thank you.
I say, come when you're called. I'll be around for a long time.
No, at least another 500 years.
Yes.